Most people in Canada know the Prime Minister's name. Many people in Canada vote, but a lot of people still feel confused about how the Canadian government actually works. And that isn't because people are careless, it's because the system itself is complex, and most people are never taught how it really works. Before you can understand the elections, political parties, or how government decisions are made, you first need to understand a few key ideas. In this video, I'm going to break down the 4 key ideas that explain how the Canadian political system is structured. Once you understand these ideas, everything else becomes much easier to understand later. When we talk about government, we're really talking about 2 things. First of all, the people who make decisions. And second of all, the systems and rules that give them the authority to make those decisions. A government is not just a person or a political party. It's a structure that allows power to be exercised in an organized and lawful way. In Canada, that structure is based on the Constitution and the legal institutions created under it. Now that we've cleared the basics, here are the 4 key ideas that shape how the Canadian political system works. These 4 key ideas are the Constitution, democracy, responsible government, and federalism. Each idea builds on the one before it. Think of them like layers stacked on top of each other that create Canada's system of government. Canada's entire political system is built on the Constitution. The Constitution is not just a single document. It is a collection of written laws, court decisions, and long-standing legal traditions that define who has power, how power is shared, and what governments are allowed to do. The most important written parts of the Canadian Constitution include the Constitution Act 1867 and the Constitution Act 1982, which includes the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Without the Constitution, Canada's system of government could not function in its current form. It is the foundation of Parliament, the Prime Minister's role, and provincial governments. The next key idea to understand the Canadian government is democracy. Democracy means that political power comes from the people, that people choose their leaders through voting. In Canada, political power does not come from a king, a dictator, or the military. It comes from the public. Canada is a representative democracy, meaning people choose leaders who make decisions on their behalf. In Canada, people choose representatives through free and fair elections. When you vote, you're not just choosing a person. You're giving someone legal authority to act on your behalf in government. This is why elections matter, not because politicians are perfect, but because the legitimacy of the Canadian government comes from public consent. The government gets its authority from the people, the voters. In theory, government exists to represent the will of the people. When you vote, you're helping decide who gets to make decisions on your behalf. The next key idea is responsible government. This means that the Prime Minister and Cabinet cannot govern however they want, and that the government must maintain the confidence of the elected legislature. At the federal level, the Prime Minister and Cabinet must have the support of the House of Commons. If they lose that support, they must either resign or request that the Governor-General dissolve Parliament and call an election. In simple terms, the government must answer to the people's elected representatives. That is what makes it responsible. This creates accountability. The government is responsible to elected representatives. Last but not least, the 4th key idea is federalism. Canada has 3 levels of government: federal, provincial, and municipal. The Constitution divides responsibilities between the federal and provincial governments. For example, the federal government is responsible for things like national defense, foreign policy, and criminal law. Provincial governments are responsible for education, healthcare, and property rights. Municipal governments get their powers from provincial legislation, and they handle local services like transit, zoning, and local infrastructure. Canada does not have one central government that controls everything. Instead, power is divided between a national government and regional governments. In Canada, this means that the federal government and the provincial governments both have real and independent authority. This structure was created to balance unity and regional diversity, so different parts of the country could govern themselves in important ways. All of these principles work together: the Constitution as the foundation, democracy as the source of power, responsible government as accountability, and federalism as division of power. This structure shapes every political decision in Canada, whether people see it or not. In future videos, I will break down each of these ideas in more detail. You don't need to be a political science student to benefit from understanding this. Knowing how power works helps you understand elections, political decisions, policy decisions, and political debates. It also helps you know who to hold accountable when things go wrong and who deserves credit when things go right. Thanks for being here. Hope that you've enjoyed the video today and learned a bit more about the political structure in Canada. This is Civic Light, making civics feel more approachable and understandable. We will continue to explore these topics in more details in our upcoming videos. So if you liked what you saw today, remember to stay tuned for our future videos.